Hey, Jill, Vincent, and Shawn. These are the teachers that are up next. I'm also the moderator for that panel. Um, you guys can jump on already, and we can get started.
Who's up first?
You are.
Okay. Enrico, it's good to see you, man.
Yeah, good to see you too.
It's been, what, I think, year
More
and a
than a
half?
year. A
Year and a
year,
half,
actually.
yeah, something like that. Yeah. So
Yeah,
it's good that you're continuing on with this, man. I see you took my advice and ran with it.
I
So
really did.
that's really good. It's great to see. And
Yeah,
thanks for having me on this here.
for sure.
Um, so is my question is then the experience of teaching personal finance, how much knowledge do students already have about financial literacy? Is that what I'm answering here today?
Yeah, you're actually, for now, you just give an introduction about yourself.
Okay. All right. So my name is Shawn Donaldson. I'm a teacher at Jackson High School in Massillon, Ohio, in Stark County. I've been teaching business for, this is going into my 7th year now. I've been teaching personal finance for 5. So I graduated with my business degree from Kent State University, have my master's in secondary ed from Grand Canyon. I spent time at Kent State playing football, so I used to coach football, but not anymore. But so that's pretty much my quick and dirty background.
Got you. Now, Vincent, if you could introduce yourself.
Hello, everybody. I guess my video is not working, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Oh, you can see me?
No,
No.
we
Oh,
cannot see you.
I don't know what the issue is. Well, I'll continue to work on it, but just as a brief introduction of myself, my name is Vincent Branch, of course, from Houston, Texas. I've been a teacher in high school for about 6 years now, originally teaching U.S. history, and a few years ago that branched out into personal financial literacy. My background before becoming a teacher, it was that I was a financial advisor, and after 15 years, made a transition over into the classroom. I'm also an NGPF fellow. Um, I, that's about it for right now.
Okay. Jill, if you could please introduce yourself too.
Sure. My name is Jill Wilson, and I'm a financial literacy teacher from Glenwood Springs, Colorado, and that's about 3 hours west of Denver, if you don't know where that is. I'm thrilled to be here, just really honored to be asked by FinMango. I have great connections with FinMango, but also NextGen. I'm a NextGen fellow from 2017 as well, so I love working with them. They've changed my teaching life. I love their curriculum, their training, everything they provide. Also, I had FinMango come to my classroom last fall and was first introduced to them, and had Mango Bob and Mango Rich come to my classroom and teach my students about investing. And it was a fantastic experience. So I'm really glad to be connected with FinMango. My teaching background, I've taught for over 20 years. I started out as a family consumer science teacher, got my master's degree in special ed, did that for a number of years, and then went back to teaching primarily at-risk students financial literacy and career skills. But the popularity of my class reached beyond the special needs populations, and the general ed students really wanted in on it. So I started teaching financial literacy strictly, and now I teach almost every student in my high school, which is about 1,000 students. I have 10 classes a semester or a year of regular financial literacy, and this coming year I'll have 2 classes of advanced money management. Kids are always begging me, we want more, we want more, we want more. So my principal was like, let's see how many enroll, and I had over 50. So I'm going to have a really busy fall, but I'm really excited to be here on this panel. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thank you all guys so much. It's really nice to have you all. And so we could get started. Shawn, you want to start? So if you could please tell us a little bit about your experience teaching personal finance on daily basis, and telling us how much knowledge you think the students already have before they take the class, and how much they gain from it?
Well, I think from beginning to end, there's an immense amount of knowledge that is picked up. I think you could attest to that.
For sure.
The one of the biggest problems that I see, because my classes are all 9th through 12th graders, so I see a lot of the spectrum. I've got kids that have been working for a couple of years that have already established some savings. You know, they might be juniors or seniors. And I've got freshmen and sophomores who've never held a job, don't have a bank account, and don't really know where to go. So there's a lot of what ifs. There's a lot of, I don't know where to go. I don't know how to handle this. How do I start saving for money? So it's really, overall, I would say there's not much, especially as we continue on. The years that have gone on, I'm seeing less and less kids that have held jobs or have had jobs. And I'm also seeing there's so much misinformation and lack of knowledge about what to do about college. There's a lot of fear about college and how to save for that, how to plan for that. The biggest thing I think that I've told my students is to have a conversation at home about money. And I always give my examples. I never had those talks with my own parents, and it came to bite me in the butt later in life. So I think it's important to talk to your parents about, you know, how do I start saving? You know, you get into a class like this, it starts to plant seeds in your brain about your own future, because for a lot of these kids, they get into high school, they blink and it's over. And when you get to college, all of a sudden you're expected to be like an adult and act like an adult and manage money like an adult. And if you haven't had at least a little bit of those, I guess for lack of a better word, those concepts, if you haven't picked up some of those important concepts, then it can really hurt you. The one thing that I see with most students that I always harp on, you probably remember this, is investing. That was the big thing. That was the big ticket. And trying to get young people to understand why you should invest early. In the 5 years that I've been teaching this, I've had, I think, maybe 2 or 3 kids take the leap and start investing. I had one student that started investing the second week of class, and by the end he had made quite a bit of money through the stock market. So that was nice to see. But that's the one hurdle I see a lot of students struggle with, because they see the stock market and all they think about is the stock market crash, the crash of 29, the crash of 08. They're going to be thinking about what happened just recently with the coronavirus. So, you know, getting past the short-term losses and understanding the long-term gain and playing the long game and the long ball, that's sometimes it's hard to do in one semester. But those are some of the things that I see a lot of. But the amount of information, it's like they've become awake almost, and they've realized. And I do get a lot of, like Tim had said, the emails from parents, from them saying, my kid is coming home talking about saving for college, or they're coming home and talking about what I'm investing in, or they're coming home and saying, why are you using a credit card? You should be using cash, and they're talking about all of those things that we preach about in class. And so that is a good feeling, and it lets you know that you're actually getting through to it. So I don't know if I went over on time or not.
No, you're good. So we
Okay.
can just take out of that your class impacts like whole families, not only the students, like their change of behavior impacts their whole family and probably like a community if you're doing like a big scale,
Yeah, it definitely can, and it's one of those things where sometimes it might be a taboo thing, as a kid, you don't think about asking your dad or your mom, hey, how do you make your money and then what do you do with it? Too many times I remember doing it as a kid. Hey, Dad, I need $10. Well, let's teach them how to earn $10. It's the old adage of, you give a man a fish, you feed him for a day, or you teach a man to fish, you feed him for a lifetime. It's the same concept.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you, Shawn. Next up, we got Vincent. So, Vincent, if you could talk to us a little bit about your transition from being a financial advisor and then becoming an educator.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And now I have video. So
Yeah,
uh,
we got you.
I want to just also thank Fan Mango for inviting me to this forum. I am honored to be a part of this and be able to contribute to the messaging of personal finance and financial education in the classroom. And also, just to add on to my introduction, I do have an associate's and bachelor's degree in business administration from LSU and University of Phoenix, and a master's degree in education from the University of Texas at Arlington. Now, when becoming a financial advisor, I like to start there because it began my voyage in financial education because I went with my mother one time to see her financial advisor. I think she was just laid off from her job and she had money in her 401k. And she had to go to a financial advisor to withdraw the money. And I went along with her. And I'm listening to the conversation that was going. And I had questions. And I was like, I wonder if she's going to ask this. And she didn't ask any questions. And next thing I know, we're leaving. And so in the car, I said, "Oh, Mom, what happened in there? Like, what was he talking about with, this tax obligation or this investment? And, why did you pull it out? He sounds like he wanted you to keep the money in." And I don't know what he was talking about. That's my money. I had to get my money out of there. I'm like, okay, there's something to this investing thing. I don't think she kind of knew what he was talking about. And from that point on, I was about 8 years old at that time. From that point on, I wanted to learn about investing. I wanted to know, what was this conversation? What did this guy know that my mom didn't know? Because my parents were heroes; they know everything, and all of a sudden, this guy knew something that she didn't, and I want to find out what that is. And I just started reading books about it, Think and Grow Rich. I talked to mentors and watched movies. One of my favorite movies was Wall Street. And from that movie, I wanted to be a stockbroker and went to school. And there was no course that taught you how to be a stockbroker per se, or teach you about investing. So I took the business classes and eventually had an opportunity to get a job in the financial services field. Started out as a phone rep with the mutual fund company. And then that's where I learned that really the only way to get financial education was on the job, really, for me. And so I absorbed it all and moved pretty quickly through the ranks, and from phone rep to a field rep. And I had a chance to travel around to different colleges and universities and give financial planning. And the professors will say, "And Vincent, I really like the way you presented that information. I've had advisors over the years and I never understood what they were talking about, but the way that you presented it to me, have you ever thought about being a professor?" No, teachers don't make any money. No, that's okay. And then I went into the banking environment and became a financial advisor in a branch bank. Worked with about 3 banks. And it was there that I realized the special knowledge that I had. Customers would come into that bank and they did not have the basic understandings of how to work that checking account. Because of that lack of knowledge, they will be inundated with NSF fees, bank service charges. The mutual funds that I was selling had these high loads, and I had to sell with the loads or I wouldn't get paid. But I knew that there's other ways to invest. There are no load funds. There are funds with less than 1% management fees, but those funds weren't on my portfolio for me to recommend. And I said, well, if people had more knowledge, they could make better decisions. And eventually I was able to get to a point financially where I could venture into teaching. I wanted to be a business teacher, but they were very hard to get those types of positions. So to get in the door, I took history and building relationships. And with my background, the principal of the high school wanted to have an elective on campus. And because of my background, of course, I chose personal financial literacy. And with that, I understood now how I can harness what I know. And it is to teach young people, because if I start young, I can now be a part of the solutions and no longer just a part of the problem. And so that's how I got here.
Yeah, thank you, Vincent. That was really cool story. And also now we got a question for Jill. So Jill, since you're involved with Next Gen Personal Finance, FinMango, all these nonprofits in the financial world, I'd like to ask you, what's been like, how can financial literacy help students in their future?
Well, I think to reiterate some of the same things the other gentlemen have said, every aspect of students' life is impacted somehow by their finances. And as I've been teaching this over the years, I've had so many students come back to me and say, I'm so glad you taught me about a credit card, or I'm so glad I didn't buy a brand new car, or many different things. And I just brought one little sample of the kind of notes I get left on my desk oftentimes. And it says, "Dear Mrs. Wilson, I would like to thank you for teaching me the most wonderful and useful class I will ever take in high school. I have learned so much in this course and I will never forget it. Thank you once again." So I have these, I just stick them up on my bulletin board and they just come one after another. The other thing that makes me know that financial literacy is impactful of my students is when I live in a relatively small town, I run into my students' parents at the grocery store or at the dentist's office, or I get emails from them, and all the time they're telling me, my student came home and at dinner time we talked about savings accounts, or we talked about opening a checking account, or we talked about why we need an emergency fund. And time again, I have students and their parents and community members that say, you know, this is the class that every student needs to take. That is just reassuring to me because that's my passion as well. Along the lines with having conversations at the dinner table, there's a statistic that says 70% of parents feel uncomfortable talking to their own children about money. And I think if the parents aren't doing it at home, whether it's because they're uncomfortable and don't know enough themselves, or they don't have time, or it's just not on their agenda, that has to be picked up somewhere. And I think the school system is a great place to do that. It's one of the most important classes, if not the most important class that I know that my own children are going to take and the children that I teach. One other thing I wanted to mention about the impact on students is when students are 17, 18 years old, they make one of the biggest financial decisions of their lives, and that's to get student loans. And I've seen that go terribly wrong from an experience in my own family where I had a family member take out over $100,000 in student loans, find out that she wasn't able to pay her bills after graduation, and attempted suicide because she saw no way out. And that was even more incentive and even more fuel for my fire to say every student needs financial literacy.
Yeah, that's for sure. I get one piece of advice from Shawn when I had his class. That is, if you want to go to college, always pick the college that you're not going to pay for. You really don't want to go out of college in debt, which is really common these days. You see students going out of college with like 100K in debt or something like that, and you really want to make sure you don't be that student, you know, don't be in that position, especially when team said that it's really hard these days to get jobs, and it's always changing how you get jobs, and normal jobs are not that normal anymore. You know, you really want to make sure you get your financial straight, first of all. And even from own experience, I can tell you guys that was really the most important class I had in high school. So it really changed your life, you know. And it's a class, as Tim said, is a class that every single high student want to take. Like every single high schooler want to take that class because it's about money, and everyone want to know about money. You know, like it's not like it doesn't matter who you are, it doesn't matter where you're from. You always want to have knowledge about money. And that was kind of my last question to all of you guys. But you know, it's just getting all that examples. I feel like everyone that is participating here can get how important having that class is. And it was so well said by all of you, just giving all that examples and everything. If you guys really want to add, like one of the advice that I had from Shawn was, he was the one that convinced me that it would be like one of my greatest things in life to get involved with Mango. He was the one that gave me that advice. And a year from now, I put that on perspective, and I can guarantee you that he was right. If you want to talk a little bit about that, Shawn, it was.
Yeah, I'd love to actually, because it's a really good story. So you actually skipped one of your classes to show up to one of the Mango meetings, didn't you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Two classes.
Yeah. So, you were already a little bit ahead of the group, but it was something that I could tell that you were interested in, because I think you recognize the opportunity a little bit more, I think, than some of the others. It might have been because you came into it from a different perspective. You came in from another country, seeing how we do things here in America, and you can compare it to something completely different. And so I think you recognize the opportunities that were in front of you a couple of years ahead than maybe a junior or a senior. But I know you and I would have those conversations all the time, and you would have those conversations with Scott. I would talk to Scott off and on, because Mango they come in and they talk to our classes every single year, and you were on the fence on whether or not you should do this, or if it's something that's worth your time. And I told you that you should bar none jump on board. You should intern, because it's going to help you down the road. I was actually just telling my wife about this earlier today, that you'll look back, you would have to do the grunt work. You'd have to put your time in, and but a couple of years later, you would be able to look back and you would say that was the best move that you could have made, because it's going to put you in position to not only make connections, but be a connection, and you're going to be able to help a lot of people down the road. And that's obvious that's what's happened. So it's something that I'm really proud to see how successful you are right now. I mean, after all, you're leading this panel right now. So,
yeah.
That shows how far you've come in a matter of, 12 months, and how much you've learned and how much you've grown. And really, the sky's the limit for you. I think I told you that a year ago. I mean, you can really go as far as you want to go. And that's something that Tim was talking about too at the end of his speech was, there's the no excuses policy pretty much. And if you really want to do something, you can do it. And you had mentioned about colleges too. A lot of people want to, I see it at my school and the other school that I was at. A lot of times people will take the college because the name sounds great. So they'll use the badge, or they'll use the brand name, if you will, over a community college. They could stay at home, hang out with mom and dad, eat potato chips, and spend $6,000 a semester. Instead, they want to take out $20,000, $25,000, $30,000, $50,000 to get that nice diploma that hangs on the wall. So, in this day and age, we live in a time now where we're not just going to work at the factory to get a pension after 30 years and then them hand us a gold watch and go sit in a rocking chair. We could have 3, 4, 5 careers now with how technology is going and how the economy is changing. I mean, look how many different people, Vincent, you started in the financial sector before you moved in. So you're already in your second career. I'm in my second career. I actually started in the business field too. I was a production supervisor. So a lot of us are changing careers faster than ever before. And the amount of experience that you're gaining right now is just, it's gonna compound. It's gonna be like compound interest. You're gonna have so much more of an advantage than a lot of people will. And I don't know how many colleges can teach that.
For sure. This was definitely the best panel of all. It was just like so inspirational, and just looking back, that was literally like, I can't thank you enough for that advice. Just literally changed my life, and you can change others too. And it's all, as you said, just about giving back, you know. When I have the opportunity, just give back to it. Especially like there's no better way to do that in a nonprofit. And just sitting here with you guys, all of us are so passionate about about the finance, all the financial world and everything. It's just, I'm so lucky to have you guys. FinMango is too. So I really want to, in the name of FinMango, I really want to thank all of you guys for being on the panel today. It was really, really good and inspirational.
Thank you so much for asking.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
I appreciate that.
I appreciate it. Thanks, Enrico.
Thank you. Now, I'll pass the mango to Kishan for the next keynote speaker. And Kishan, if you want to jump on. To introduce the next keynote speaker. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, hey, actually next is actually a giveaway. It's not a speaker.
Oh, it's a giveaway.
Yeah.
Let's do this.
Let's see. Oh, actually, no, it is a speaker. It is a speaker. It is a speaker.
It is a speaker, right? Yeah.
A little early. Just a little early.
Exactly.
Yeah. Everything was great, dude, man. Everything said was amazing. Couldn't have won better.
Yeah.
So can I interrupt you? This is technology host Anthony. Will we be able to open up any Q&A before we start the next panel? Is that a possibility? We had a couple come through, and I don't think anyone can see them besides myself.
Yeah. For Shawn, Vincent, and Jill, you mean?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, for sure. I feel like Jill already. Oh, she's here. Yeah, go ahead.
So we had a question from George Gillidan. He said, at what age do you all think that we should introduce financial literacy?
I'd say at birth. I just saw someone write in the comments that they have their little child counting coin and understanding those kinds of things. And I fully agree with that. You have to start early. I just know as a teacher of high schoolers that when they reach my classroom at 16, 17, 18 years old, and they've never heard the terminology before for finances, it's literally like trying to teach a foreign language. So if parents could start earlier and start thinking about, you know, sharing their money management with their kids, having their kids, I think Shawn mentioned this, work on commission. I always had my children work for commission rather than an allowance because they're always begging for money. And I was like, well, here's a list of things you can do. Go shovel the deck and here's $2. So I think it can start really young. And while I'm a huge advocate of required financial literacy in high schools, I really want to see the kids trickling up to the high school level with some financial knowledge so we don't have to start from ground zero.
That's great. That's great. And we actually had another question from Mariana Garza. I think this was she's from Mexico, and this is addressed to anyone. She said, how can we encourage more teachers to teach this?
From my experience, you know, as a teacher, I also work with the district as a teacher coach, and I lead professional development within my district and have done some things with the state. And one of the things that I've found out is that a lot of teachers don't trust their own knowledge about personal finance in order to teach it. And so one of the big hurdles, and I think Tim responded to this, is that when he started NGPF, he found out that not only can you have to offer certain resources, that you actually had to become an educational institution to actually train teachers on personal finance in a more in-depth way. Maybe some products like investing that, you know, they know how to work their bank account, but they've never invested for or have a knowledge of investing. Having programs that will actually educate teachers and give them resources, professional development geared directly toward personal finance and economics, I think is crucial to getting more teachers in the classroom and willing to take on a financial literacy course.
Yeah, those are great insights. Thank you so much for that. I appreciate it. And I think now, if Keyshawn, if you're ready, I believe that we should.
Yeah.
Okay.
let me just comment something.
Yeah,
This just shows how great this panel was. Like, I watched all the other ones, and no panel before had the Q&A questions and everything. So this is really the best one. I'm not even kidding, because I was the
Thank you
one
guys
who
so
did
much.
it. But
Uh,
yeah, thank you. Go ahead.
if I may, I did see a question in the chat, and
Yeah,
that
go
is,
ahead.
it was a question about using financial literacy in the way that we teach. So have you ever thought about applying what you guys do with teaching financial literacy, but to health literacy or to help solve the national obesity problem? Well, my answer is not so much to that, but I think when I think about financial literacy, I look at it as a way of fighting generational poverty. It is kind of like a citizenship thing. If we can promote financial literacy and have more students graduating high school financially literate, I believe they can be better citizens. So it's almost like a civics lesson. So financial literacy is bigger than just learning about money. It's how to be a good citizen, how not to live on public assistance or expect public assistance as a part of your financial plan, and being more financially independent, and that helps all of us. And if we can have more people that can develop that financial independence, we can take a big bite out of generational poverty. And the schools I work in is in a high poverty urban area. So that's one of my primary focuses and approaches, and motivations with spreading financial literacy. So I just saw the connection between financial literacy and other national problems, and really want to focus on how financial literacy is a national problem itself.
Yeah, those are great insights.
Yeah.
We actually run a program called Finvest, and that's helping kids become more well-versed around everything financially, anything that has to do with financial education and personal finance in general. So loans, investing, the importance of the Roth IRA, things like that. And I don't know if Mango Bob is still in here, but maybe he'd like to just
He is. Yeah. He's going to give his class later today too.
Oh, that's right.
And yeah, and that's definitely true. Like, all the advices and all the things that you learn on the financial world, you can definitely use personally and to make your community better, impact your family, impact everyone that you know around you.
Right.
So
And,
I'd like to, can I add something to that?
Of course.
Okay, so there's a lot of really important information there that was given out by Vincent, and the one thing that I wanted to add was, Enrico, I may have mentioned it in class when I had you, but a lot of it comes down to discipline as well. I'm a big fan of Jocko Willink, and his famous quote is "Discipline equals freedom." And so if you've got the discipline to save, you have the discipline to invest, that's going to give you freedom. It's the same route as if you've got the discipline to work out and the discipline to eat right, you'll lose weight, you'll feel healthy, that'll give you freedom. And so there's a lot of correlation between that. And when you have the discipline to save and invest, you'll feel better about yourself, and you'll become a better citizen as well, like he had said. So there's so much involved that all intertwines, like he had mentioned. But I wanted to bring that in.
Yeah, that's a piece of advice you can use in anything in your life, especially sports too. I remember you mentioned that to me, since you were a football college player. Discipline equals freedom. Exactly.
Enrico,
Really
quickly,
great to have you guys today.
I just
Go
noticed
ahead.
that Mariana was asking how we can encourage more teachers to teach this from Mexico. Anybody that can spread the word about next gen personal finance and their professional development. And I know I participated in a Fin Camp in Phoenix where teachers came across the border from Mexico. There were maybe 6 or 8 of them, and they attended the Fin Camp. So, and then went back, and it was a kind of a economic council partnership. So if people are looking for ways to connect, there's definitely many out there. Reach out to me, reach out to Tim, reach out to other financial literacy fellows from Next Gen, and we'll try to connect people.
Yeah, thank you for that, Jill. We're kind of past the time already. It was really great to have you guys. But I feel like I gotta pass it to Shawn now, so he can
Okay,
introduce
go.
the next keynote
Thank you guys
speaker.
so much for your time.